Rock never stops. Today, I want to talk about these Detroit Pistons and how they're growing up in front of our very eyes. And if I'm honest, they're getting big if you notice. They're getting real stocky. They're getting a little diesel. And I think a lot of that comes from their playoff run last year and recognizing just how physical this game gets the higher and higher up you climb within competition. I want to dive into that in this video. But before I do, if you enjoy this channel, the video, please smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. It's a little thing, but it's a big thing. You know what I mean? So I appreciate all the love and support. Definitely excited about this upcoming season. So many dope things on the horizon. I'm looking forward to sharing it all with y'all. But let's dive in. Let me just start off with the Detroit Pistons are one of the bigger teams and one of the smaller teams all in the same breath. When it comes to interior presence, they're one of the stockier, more physical, stronger teams, even athletic, but they're not tall. They're not tall. What's going on, Ghost Keeper? Appreciate seeing you in the chat, my man. You know, I've been saying this for a couple years. Back when Troy Weaver brought in James Wiseman, Marvin Bagley, he had Beef Stew, he had Duran, he was trying out double big lineups. I kept telling y'all he sees something that many of y'all don't recognize. That the NBA is getting bigger. And I mean big, big. They're getting multiple 7-footers. Big. Where we were coming out of this generation of stretch bigs and small ball bigs, Draymond Green playing the center position, right? Bam Adebayo at 6'9", getting away with being a center. Oh, the league was transitioning out of that in a major way. And Troy Weaver saw it. I saw it too. When you saw Giannis and Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis, when you saw Mitchell Robinson and at the time Julius Randle, but then eventually Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns, when you saw Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, when you begin to see a Nikola Jokic, right? And you begin to see these dominant centers, Joel Embiid, you begin to see guys that you have to have an answer for. You have to have an answer for. Now, we've all seen how it played out a little bit. Joel Embiid, I think he's just broken goods at this point. I think if Joel Embiid had played overseas, he would have had a much longer career. He would have had an opportunity to play in a much slower tempo style that would probably been better suited for his skill set and also his body type and his level of conditioning. Right, the track meet that the NBA season is, and a marathon, it's like a sprint and a marathon all in one. It just wasn't suited for his body type. So all that's to say is we don't necessarily have a lot of dominant all-time great centers. We don't have the David Robinsons and Patrick Ewings and all of them, and the Hakeem Olajuwons and Shaquille O'Neals. We don't really have them, but that's coming. I truly believe that that's coming. Young Hansen in Portland, he looks legit. 100% legit. 100% legit. You still got Jokic. You still have a lot of these teams like Sacramento getting more centers. You have other teams like the Los Angeles Lakers just picked up DeAndre Ayton. I'm telling y'all, DeAndre Ayton is about to have one of the best seasons of his career. Right? In the same way he had one of the best seasons of his career when he had Chris Paul running the show, he's about to have the same thing with LeBron and Luka. All that's to say is you have to have an answer. You have to have size, especially on the interior. And the Detroit Pistons just don't have that. Jalen Duran is a legitimate starting level center. I would say he's mid-tier, right? Outside of guys like that you would just say is clearly better than him. Gobert, Towns, Jokic, Embiid. Throw in there. I'd say DeAndre Ayton is still better than him. He's somewhere in the middle of the pack of the league, right? But when you think about the playoffs, when you think about what it means to compete when it matters the most, he's going to need help. And how Trajan Langdon has sought to address that help has been pretty unique. Has been pretty unique. He's pivoted. He said to himself, if Jalen Duren is our guy, we're gonna find that out this year because he's betting on himself, saying, "Hey, I deserve 30 to 35 million dollar contract per year." I'm not mad at that. Bet on yourself. We talked about that yesterday. And and if we are going to make this work, we're gonna have to have size everywhere else. And that's where Trajan Langdon has made the appropriate moves. He's gotten big everywhere else. He brought in Duncan Robinson at 6'8". He brought in Karis LeVert, 6'7" and change. He's got Ron Holland, going to see a huge jump in minutes. Probably start averaging somewhere around 15 plus minutes a game at 6'8". Asar Thompson is going to be playing full games from the beginning of the season at 6'8", 6'9". All right. He still has Cade Cunningham at 6'7", 6'8". Then he gets Jaden Ivey back, 6'4", 6'5". This team has gone from a team that was small on the interior and small on the perimeter with guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley rounding out that backcourt, and Marcus Sasser or Dennis Schroeder, to now he's got Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, guys 6'5", 6'7", 6'7", 6'8", that is now rounding out the backcourt. Now, here's the thing. They didn't just get taller in terms of this roster construction. They also got physically bigger. During media day, I think one of the consistent recognitions is just how much, they always have like the muscle watch, right? The infamous 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. I'm going to talk about a Javonte Green in a second, bro. I'm already there with you. I'm already there with you in the chat. This is an interactive chat, so if you put stuff in there, I am going to read it. I'll try to get to it. I may not, but I will try to. All that's to say is they also got physically bigger. They also got like muscle, and I'm not gonna say like muscle bound like the '90s where guys are just like Antonio Davis, the Davis brothers in Indiana, like they didn't just get yoked. They got stronger. They've put on the right type of muscle. They put on the type of muscle that allows you to still be mobile, to still have speed, to still play with that level of physicality, but also agility, right? They aren't just plotters up and down the court like a Greg Ostertag type, right? But they got bigger because they understand that when the playoffs start, or when you start playing some of these playoff level teams who are going to play you straight up, who are going to play you like another playoff team, you're going to have to be ready for that level of physicality because the referees are not going to give you the benefit of the doubt of, oh, you just weren't strong enough, right? Oh, you just got moved around because you're still skinny, right? And even then, they're going to be playing at a higher level of intensity, a higher level of competition, which also means that the referees are going to allow far more physical play. So they had to get physically bigger and stronger. But then they also got guys who just play big. Guys who just play big is the main person that I would point out in that regard. Javonte Green is about 6'3", 6'4", something like that on a good day. But he plays like he's 6'10". He plays like he's 6'10". He reminds me of like Bruce Brown, who's now back with the Denver Nuggets, who helped them win their first championship. Then kind of did his rounds. He plays big. He's not a guy who's scared to get in there amongst the trees and grab a rebound or a putback dunk. He's not a guy who's afraid to drive straight down the middle and wish somebody would and cock it back and look to dunk on somebody. Right? He's not a guy that's going to be scared to mix it up and try to get a weak side shot block. Right? These are the type of guys that you need on your team so that guys understand the level of energy and expectation of how to play. Now you got your Ron Holland, you got your Asar Thompson. What's good, Marvin? It's good to see you in the chat, man. It's been a minute. It has been a minute. You got Ron Holland, you got Asar Thompson, you got Cade, You even got Ivy. You got a lot of your stars who play big. But here's the thing: you also need guys who can come into the game and also play big. And one guy that I think is getting slept on, who also plays big, it's probably their smallest guy on the roster. It's Marcus Sasser. Marcus Sasser plays big. Now, people won't all the time think that he's somebody who plays big. I don't know if you remember, some of y'all probably remember for the older crowd here, Tony Parker. Tony Parker, 6'2" on a good day, and had one of the highest finishing efficiencies around the rim of all players, guards included. Yeah, B-ball Paul as well. B-ball Paul as well. But Tony Parker used to be able to finish amongst the trees like it was nothing. It didn't matter if Shaq was down there. It didn't matter who was down there. He was going to get into the trees, around the rim, his pivots, flip shots, using the angles, quickness, keeping you off balance, and he could finish. He played big. Not everybody who plays big is going to be someone who plays big above the rim. And Marcus Sasser is one of those guys, he's not necessarily going to be above the rim. He is going to be someone who can be big time. He is someone I believe wholeheartedly might be, I would say, probably our third most explosive scorer on the team behind Cade and Ivy. And when I say explosive scorer, I'm talking about a guy who can come in the game immediately and make a huge impact. Immediately come into the game and get you 5 to 7 points. And it doesn't matter if it's the fourth quarter. It doesn't matter if it's a playoff game. It doesn't matter if it's crunch time or first quarter, preseason, summer league, pickup. It don't matter. He is a bucket. And there's certain guys that I always say, being a scorer has like different levels, right? There are guys who are shooters. A shooter is somebody like Duncan Robinson, right? He can go into a game and shoot 6 to 8 or more threes in a game, and it feels natural. But if you ask Asar Thompson to shoot 6 to 8 threes in a game, it wouldn't feel natural. It would look forced. And you kind of be like, that's not really who you are. That's not really your game. Ron Holland, the same thing. But then if you say like a Karis LeVert, who's a shot creator, who's a bucket, right? You tell him to go out there off the bench, go get me a bucket. He's got it. It's nothing. It's nothing. Give me the rock. Get out the way. Set me a screen, right? Go move to the other side. I got this. Clear out. Bucket, right? But if you ask Duncan Robinson or you ask, let's say, Asar Thompson or Jalen Duren, go get me a bucket, face up and clear everyone out, it wouldn't always look as natural, as seamless. Isaiah Stewart, right? Even a Chaz Lanier. It wouldn't look as seamless. Then there are guys who can just score, right? Who just have a knack for figuring out how to get the ball in the basket. And that's like a Ron Holland. But of course, if you say shooter or clear out, right, he's not necessarily that type of guy. So there's different types of scorers. There's a certain type of scorer that I refer to as my volume scorer. Volume scorer. That means taking 15 to 20 to 25 shots in a game is easy for these guys. It's easy. It's second nature. It's I have no qualms about it. It feels natural. It's in the flow. It works. And these are generally your superstars. Or if you don't have the efficiency, you become a bench role player. And here's the thing. Marcus Sasser is one of those guys that if you told him to go out there and take 20 shots, not only could he take 20 shots and make 8 to 10 of them, but he would also be able to do it in the flow. He's also someone who can score buckets in bunches and it not look forced. In fact, every time he shot it, you would assume it's going in because of his mechanics, his form, his consistency, his awareness of himself on the floor, how to get to his spots. He has spots. And here's the thing. Not everybody has a bunch of spots on the floor. Jaden Ivey right now, I would say his spots are like he has the 3-point shot, it's pretty good range, and then he has that floater, and then he gets to the rim. So he's got 25 feet, and then he's got maybe 8 feet, 5 feet. Right? Those are his spots. Those are the areas of his spots. The mid range is not really that. Cade is somebody who has spots all over the court. He can score just about any, and it feels natural in the flow. Ron Holland, really, it's around the rim. That's where his spots are right now. I know he's got a little pull up bag, but he's not going to probably get to that for another couple years. Karis LeVert, he's not necessarily a 3-point shooter in that regard, but he can get to the mid range and to the rim. Certain guys have spots they can get to in different areas. But Marcus Sasser is one of those few guys who has spots absolutely everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And when you watch how he scores, he moves in the flow of the game where he's aware of where all the defenders are. He's not out there forcing shots, trying to get into spots where he's squeezing between guys, where it looks like you're just doing too much. He's somebody that every time I watch him take a shot, I end up just nodding my head like, oh, yeah, that was a great shot. That was a good shot. Pull up 15-footer off of the pick and roll. Great shot. Running floater, getting downhill off of the high pick. Great shot. Sidestep off of the dribble handoff at the 3-point line, coming off of beef stew. Great shot. Every time I see him shoot, it's a great shot. But here's the thing. He's in year 3 now. And it pretty much is a put up or shut up, make it or break it year for him. He has to show out. Now, I think the Detroit Pistons have a little bit of leeway with him. They also still have Dennis Jenkins available, but I think Marcus Sasser is a way better scorer. Dennis Jenkins is a better passer and more athletic. But I think Marcus Sasser is a more natural gifted scorer. But there's more runway because he has one more year, and not necessarily forced because of his contract to really figure things out. But it's to say, because of where they are in terms of their development as a team, making it to the playoffs, if Marcus Sasser can't prove that he's that guy off the bench, that he's last year's Dennis Schroeder in terms of impact as a lead guard off the bench, if he can't prove that this year, they're going to have to go out and get somebody else. And it won't be in the draft. It'll be via trade. Because they need that position. They need that spark plug guard off the bench. Karis LeVert is not that. I know he can bring the ball up, initiate offense. Karis LeVert has the skill to be able to be an offensive initiator, and that's great. He's also injury prone. He's also on the other side of 30. He's also someone who's not necessarily going to pick up full court. What's your target wins for this season, Ross? Oh, D-Dubs. I think they're going to be somewhere between 44 and 48 wins. I wouldn't be shocked if they hit 50, but that's my area. Because you never know when people get injured, what injuries happen. Orlando had all those injuries. Philly had all those injuries. You know, everyone's getting hurt, so it allowed Detroit to get more wins. If everyone's healthy, I think Detroit gets 44 to 48 wins this season. But I digress. With the Detroit Pistons, they need someone who can come in and be an explosive scorer because they really don't necessarily have that role off the bench. And I say explosive scorer, not just someone who can score, right? Karis LeVert can score. It's not necessarily explosive. And they don't necessarily have that backcourt defender. I know Ron Holland, he can defend at a high level. I think he can pressure guys full court. But can he pressure another point guard full court, all 92, 94 feet? I don't think that's what he is or how to best utilize him. I actually don't even want Asar Thompson doing that either, or Jaden Ivey. But I will take Marcus Sasser. And I love that Marcus Sasser gave a comparison for his game that he's looking at, that he studied, was TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell is fearless. absolutely fearless. He knows his role, he knows the system, he knows his teammates, and he knows how and when to assert himself consistently. He has his shot package. You know, he's getting to that little floater, that little bump finish. He's getting to that little step back or that little pump fake, step under. He's looking to get around the rim, and he even has that little funky little set push, jump shot, that he does from the 3-point line, but he makes it. And he looked good in the finals. I thought they was gonna give him a finals MVP if he ended up dropping 35, 40. You know what I mean? Like he was balling out. But it's a level of preparation and confidence and toughness that he has exhibited that I think is what Marcus Sasser needs. And it's the mental toughness. It's the mental toughness of knowing exactly not just who he is, but what his team is needing from him. There's times where I think last season Marcus Sasser was still trying to figure himself out. And as a result, he was thinking more than he was just playing. But I think that was also because last year they needed someone who was able to do more of running the show and facilitating, especially with Jaden Ivey out. And I think they realized that with Jaden Ivey out, there was a huge hole in terms of ball handling responsibility, playmaking, offensive facilitation, etc. Having Asar Thompson for a full season is going to help in a major way because I think he's more Scottie Pippen than people realize, meaning that he's this hyper athletic wing who can do all this great defense, but he can also run the show offensively. Great, unselfish teammate who has a lot of skill. Now they have Jaden Ivey back. They have Cade Cunningham. They have Karis LeVert. They have a lot of guys who can facilitate offense. Jalen Duren is getting that much more skilled in terms of facilitation at the top of the key, dribble handoffs, playmaking at the top, hitting the backdoor cut. He can do so many things now through the pass as well. So don't necessarily need a Dennis Schroeder in the way that they did last year, which is something that I keep distinguishing for a lot of like Pistons fans who comes in like, oh, we need to get somebody like Dennis Schroeder again. You don't really need to. Not with Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson back. What they need is a spark plug. They need someone who can come off the bench and be explosive in terms of scoring. That then the coach goes, I have the luxury of letting my starters rest a little bit longer. I have the uh, um, I have the luxury where Cade and Ivy don't feel the pressure that they have to force anything. D Dubs was good, man. You like Beasley still? Nah. I was telling you all that at the beginning of at the end of last year. I said Beasley wasn't coming back. Not a playoff performer, too small defensively, doesn't bring enough skill offensively outside of shooting. Great shooter though throughout the regular season. Um, but let me get back to this. The Pistons got big. They got big. And I appreciate their size. I appreciate in their ability to put on the physical mass to be competitive. I also appreciate their uh, that toughness. And somebody mentioned Paul Reed. Um, I don't think he's gonna. I think he's gonna be a third string center again. I don't think he's gonna be starting at power forward like downtown Deuce proposed in his post. I don't think he's gonna be a primary backup four. I think they're gonna leave some space for Ron Holland to play more power forward as well as small forward. I think Marcus Sasser is that first guard off the bench. Um, but it's to say that the guys that they brought in are big and ready to play big. And how they're making up for having a lack of interior size is through having size and toughness and physicality throughout all the other positions. Now they still have the physicality and toughness at the center position. Even though I'll say this, Jalen Duren does, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I appreciate seeing Jalen Duren shooting those jump shots. I told you he would. I told you he would this year. But he doesn't play as physical as his size would suggest, right? Because he has a physical body makeup like an Alonzo Mourning. Like that's probably my best physical potential upside skill type comparison for him. Very strong, long, can defend the rim, rebound at a high rate. Duren's probably a little bit more mobile and athletic, but Mourning was really athletic too throughout his career. The major difference is Mourning played physical. Mourning made you feel him. Alonzo Mourning, I'm talking about, made you feel him every step of the way. He reminded me of someone like what's his name for the New Jersey Nets, Kenyon Martin, right? Kenyon Martin, you felt his presence every step of the way, putting that elbow in your side, putting his backside on you, boxing you out. He's moving you with his strength. As big as Jalen Duren is, he's kind of that young man muscle, right? He ain't been through nothing yet muscle, right? He ain't got no real stressor out there muscle, right? Life is still sweet and good muscle. He ain't got to worry about no kids getting on his nerve muscle, right? It looks great aesthetically muscle. But what is he really doing with that? He ain't really hitting nobody with no screen like that, right? Like he'll get called for a moving screen, but it didn't lay nobody out. That's the type of muscle that Jalen Duren has. And I would say that is also something he needs to improve. He needs to get a tough physical mentality and start learning how to play big. Yeah, now bigs are studying how to stretch the floor offensively. Yeah, that's a great point, Marvin. That's a great point. But Jalen Duren has to start learning how to play, especially if you're only going to be 6'10", 6'10 and a half. Okay, maybe you got the right pair of shoes with a thick sole. Maybe you get to 6'11". But as big as the rest of the league is getting, you're going to need to not only play big, but play physical without getting called for cheap fouls. Now, I said before, Asar Thompson helps that out in a major way. But Jalen Duren is going to have to start taking that upon himself to be an enforcer. Don't get called for the cheap fouls, but make sure that you're felt out there. Trust that you got Isaiah Stewart, Paul Reed, Tolu Smith, right? You have a roster, you have depth. Get good fouls, right? Somebody drives down the paint and you put them on their backside and block the shot. Maybe you got called for that foul, but that's a good foul, right? A bad reach in after missing a shot and the guard gets a rebound and you try to steal it from him and you get called for a reaching foul. That's a terrible foul, right? We need you to start playing big, right? Set a screen. Maybe you leaned a little bit, but you laid the dude out, right? That's a good foul. But if you get caught reaching over the back because you didn't box out first or you're frustrated, it's a bad foul. We need Jalen Duren to start playing big, to start playing more physical. We need him to play up into what it means to be a part of the bad boy Pistons legacy. Right? And this is what we're looking for. But it's to say across the board, this is how Trajan Langdon is trying to address the needs of this team. Getting big along every other position. 6'8", he already talked about. He's going to have lineups of 6'8" and up. That's what Bernie Bickerstaff. Sorry, not Bernie. JB Bickerstaff was talking about. Right? Saying there's going to be times we can go 6'8" or taller all the way through. I would love to see a lineup. I mean, it would be crazy defensively to see this lineup of Cade Cunningham, Ron Holland, Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, and Isaiah Stewart. That defensive lineup, wild. Nobody scoring. Nobody scoring, bro. Nobody scoring. Yeah. I totally agree, Marv. If he plays big, we'll stop hearing we need a 7-footer. Period. Because if I go through the league, every team has a 7-footer. but us. Every team. I can scroll down. I can go to let me see. Detroit. Here we go. I'm gonna go like this. I'm just gonna scroll through these teams. See how many 7-footers. Let's say Atlanta Hawks. They got Kristaps Porzingis, 7'3". Boston Celtics. They've got Nemias Queta, 7'1". You go to Brooklyn, right? We're still the smallest team in the league on the interior, right? They got Nicholas Claxton, right? They got Danny Wolf, right? A couple of 7-footers. You go to Chicago, they got Vucevic. We go to Charlotte, they got Nurkic, right? And they just drafted what's his name, Kalkbrenner, right? You go to Cleveland, of course, they got Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. You go to Dallas, they got the Twin Towers down there. They got what's his name? Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. Denver's got Jokic, right? Golden State's pretty small. It's probably one of the only teams that's still small. Houston, they're a little small. But they got Steven Adams and Clint Capella, right? They got size. Everyone has size. Jalen Duren, and I may have to do like a separate live video on this. Jalen Duren, you're gonna have to start playing. Boston won with Al Horford, true. But remember, they were big everywhere else too. They were big everywhere. Quentin Post is not big, but he's like 6'11", and Horford's not 7 feet. But nah, I get your point though that Boston was able to win with Horford, but they still had Porzingis, and they had Keita, and they had Tatum and Brown on the wings with Drew Holiday and Derek White, who's 6'5". Both of them are 6'5". So they still had positional size everywhere else, but they also played big. Those guys play big. Drew Holiday, Derek White, all right? Yes, even without Porzingis, they won. True. Post is 7'1". He might be 7 foot on a good day, but he plays like he's 6'9". If I'm honest with you, Quentin Post, and I'm in the Bay Area. I see Quentin Post. He plays like he's 6'8". Nobody's checking for Quentin Post. People are checking for Draymond before they're checking for Quentin Post. People are checking for Jimmy before they check for Quentin Post. Nobody's thinking about Quentin Post. All right. Not everybody who's 7 feet plays like they 7 feet. I'm saying. And that's what I'm talking about Duren. Duren needs to start playing big. He might be 16, needs to play like he's 7'2". Right? Bam Adebayo does that. Draymond Green does that. Al Horford does that. He plays big. I might do another video on that soon. He's a knockdown shooter. That's exactly what we're talking about. That's wrong with this league. Dude can shoot, but they can't box out. Right? I can hit a three, but I can't set a screen. Right? I can make a pass, but can't get a rebound. Some of this stuff don't make sense when you're over 7 feet. It just don't make sense. All right, I digress. Yo, this has been a dope video. I'm gonna get at y'all next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I appreciate all y'all. Y'all have an amazing day. Amazing day. Remember, try something new. Try something new. If I can give you a word for today, try something new. You know, the brain, the body is meant to expand and to do something different. It helps it to keep growing. It helps your mind to stay sharp. If you keep doing the same things over and over, you end up in the same ruts, in the same space, in the same place in life. Do something new. Challenge yourself. Feel uncomfortable. Right? Keep growing. Life is to be lived. And I hope all y'all living it to the fullest. We get at y'all next time. Peace.